So yeah, that's how you get started. Start small, start where you're at. Once you know, once you have a general background of who your people are and their history, what you want to do is you want to then narrow that down to the slave trade. Look up the slave trade and the history of it in your respective country. What you want to do is you want to go on websites like slavevoyages.com. That shows you a history. It's like a log or a database of all the slave ships, thousands of slave ships that were brought over, that brought our ancestors over here. Slavevoyages.org, actually, I think it is. Those will give you ship names, captain names. Sometimes they'll even give you the names of the ethnic groups that your ancestors came from, if you're really lucky, and a whole bunch of other information. You want to really get information on what ethnic groups were taken to your specific nation of destination, I should say. If I'm looking at my father's lineage in Georgia and Alabama, I'm going to look up Georgia, the history of the slave trade in not only the Low Country, but in Georgia and Alabama. If I'm looking at my mother's lineage in Jamaica, I'm going to look at the history of slavery in Jamaica, and not just Jamaica, but I'm going to look up who were the prominent slave owners, what kind of ethnic groups were they looking for in Africa to do certain trades and work on their plantation. You want to research these things. You want to look them up. This is the type of thinking you want when you're doing your research. A lot of people ask me on how to do the research. That's why I'm kind of going in on that right now. But yeah. So let me give an example. So with looking up the different ethnic groups that were stolen and brought to your country that you currently reside in, you want to that's kind of like a gateway. And once you get there, then you start to accumulate the power of knowledge of self. Because, for example, for me, when I started looking up Jamaican history of the slave trade that happened there, I noticed that a lot of Akan people from modern day Ghana were taken to Jamaica. I noticed that a lot of people from Nigeria, namely from the Igbo ethnic group, were taken to Jamaica. And this wasn't by accident. The British wanted these type of people to be their slaves, because these type of people had specific skill sets, that were useful to them, on their plantation. So it's a rough history that you're gonna look up, but it's gonna give you power, because you realize that a lot of our ancestors had skills and trades that were superior to Europeans at that time in the areas that they were working in. Especially when it comes to agriculture, that's one of the main reasons why we were taken, was for agriculture. So that is like an example. Ghana and Nigeria for Jamaica. So I would look at those countries and those ethnic groups now. And then to continue with that example, once you pinpoint those ethnic groups that were brought to the country, then you want to learn about those specific ethnic groups. You see what I'm saying? Because if you know that the majority of people in Jamaica descend from enslaved Akan and Igbo, then there's a good chance that you descend from those ethnic groups. There's a good percentage. And sure enough, when I started taking DNA tests, I confirmed that I was 22% Akan and 20% Igbo. That's almost half of my whole genetic makeup. My whole genome, half of my genome is from those two ethnic groups alone. So that means that, if I do the Punnett squares in my head, right, that means that I probably have a grandparent or great-grandparent that was almost 100% Akan or 100% Igbo. Pure African, you know what I'm saying? So that's powerful in of itself. That's kafaye.